Hey there, Lincoln here from boacademy.org. Today, I want to finally address crypto on this channel. On this channel, we discuss wealth building, stock market investing, real estate investing, building your own businesses. But today, I want to discuss crypto because I've been talking about crypto a lot on my Instagram stories at Lincoln W. Daniel. For the last year, I've been breaking down crypto and money and economics and trying to explain why cryptos and Bitcoin and DeFi are all a bunch of nonsense and why they don't really have value or much at all, if any. And that's gone well. People on Instagram have received it well. They're learning, they're interested. So I decided, okay, let me just talk about Bitcoin and just discuss what's happening right now. The reason I'm so against Bitcoin is because I want to make sure that people who are otherwise well-intentioned, smart, don't lose all their money to something like Bitcoin or some other crypto coin, or let's say some stable coin that is supposed to be pegged to the US dollar, but somehow loses all of its value overnight. That happened, and it's going to happen again. Luna, Terra Luna, whatever it's called, the stable coin that crashed overnight, literally overnight, and the founder, creator, the god of this crypto walked away with billions of dollars. It's a Ponzi. It's literally a Ponzi scheme. They create this token and they say, hey, everyone look over here. Look at my new token or my new stable coin. It's going to be great. It's going to replace the fiat currency. I declare it has value. That's literally what fiat means, to decree. So you're trying to replace fiat with fiat, but don't call your decree fiat. So they create this nonsense token, and they also say, okay, we don't want to trust anyone. We don't want to be dependent on any government because code is law. We can run our whole system on code, and if anything goes wrong, code will be there to save us. Luna crashed partly because of its algorithm failing. And the same thing happens with the rest of them. As the Ponzi fails, as the bigger fool theory fails, they create more of these tokens, and that continues to depreciate the value, or the value that was there, and then they crash overnight. So what's going on with Bitcoin? I just want to spend some time just walking through some of the arguments or pros that they tell us about Bitcoin and cryptos. So the main ones have been that is a store of value, or that it's a currency, a replacement currency for the entire world. Because for some reason, all the countries that haven't ever created world peace will want to use a single currency. But let's take this step by step. So let's talk about store of value. If you were to invest in Bitcoin in 2011, 2009 when it came out, if you were the creator of Bitcoin, you'd be incredibly wealthy right now, because it was worth cents and dollars at the time. And it's a great store of value. Actually, it increases in value over time. It's done 10x, 100x, 1000x for you because you got in early on. And then you told other people, hey, look how great this thing's going for me. And they came in, and that increased your value in that store. And so it's been a great store of value for you. But the problem is that for the vast majority of people, they're losing their life savings every 3 months. Bitcoin might go up to $45,000 and then go back down to 20,000. Every 3 months, it loses anywhere between 30 to 66% of its value. What kind of store of value is that? Does that seem like somebody want to store your value? Just imagine you had all of your money that you need to retire on in this bag over here. And every month, someone just comes out of nowhere from the street, walks into your house, and burns 33% of that. Just burns it. Or they burn 66% of that. And now you're left with whatever is left in the bag, and you freak out, and you take all your money from the bag and you put it somewhere else, never to return to that bag again. That's what happened to people because they're afraid. They lose confidence in what was touted as a store of value when it fails to store value well. So then they leave. They leave with net negative return. The store of value failed them. It wasn't actually a store of value. That's the vast majority of people who use Bitcoin or invest in Bitcoin, speculate on Bitcoin. So no, it's not really a store of value. For me, I would like for my store of value to not lose 33 to 66% of its value every 3 months, and then maybe go back up at some point. Bitcoin is not a store of value that you can trust your money to. It's not today, and it may never get there. There is no reason, absolutely no reason that it has to, besides the greater fool theory. If everyone believes that some other fool is going to come along tomorrow and increase and buy out their shares of Bitcoin, which means that that person is leaving because they're selling their shares. So they obviously don't believe in it if they're selling their shares. So everyone is telling you that Bitcoin is somehow this holy grail, or selling their shares and they can exit. And then maybe they'll come back when it drops 66% in 3 months and then do it all over again. So it's not a store of value, and it seems to have properties of a Ponzi scheme. Not calling it a Ponzi scheme, not yet, but it seems to have properties of a Ponzi. I've seen many of them. I almost fell into some of them with the multi-level marketing schemes. Not exactly a Ponzi scheme, but they're both the same crap. They're both the same. You lose your money, basically, and time. So now let's talk about the currency argument. Since it's not a good store of value, let's talk about currency. As Bitcoin is at 17,000 and is somehow someone's buying a dip. Someone's buying it to 18,000 right now, as you can see on my thing here. Currency. They say, oh, it's a store of value, it's a currency. It's been 13 years and they have no idea what it is, and there's no scaled application for this technology that they say is the best and the solution to everything. So one of their arguments is currency. Let's talk about currencies. Economies depend on people spending money. That's how an economy works. Every dollar that you spend, somebody else earns. Every dollar that someone else earns is a dollar that you spend or somebody else spent. If you don't spend that money, the economy fails, because people have to spend money for an economy to make sense, to actually go around. Products have to be sold, products have to be bought, and people will want more things. However, if the opposite is true, that people are not buying things because they somehow believe that in the future their money today will be worth more in the future. If I hold on to my dollar today, I can get more things with that same dollar tomorrow. That's deflation. That's how you get deflation. That has never worked in any economy. In fact, the reason the Great Depression got as bad as it did was because of deflation. When people were losing their jobs and burning out their savings account, people didn't have enough money to go spend on the things they needed or things they wanted. And so people were not earning as much money as they were used to. Businesses did not earn as much as they used to, and they could not afford to keep around all their labor force. And so they had to fire more people to drive down the cost of their business. And so then more people entered into the unemployment line who did not have money or discretionary money to go spend on other things that they needed or wanted. And so more businesses had to fire people. And that cycle continues. And that is called deflationary cycle. You don't want that. Deflation, a sustained deflationary period, is not a good thing in any economy. It doesn't work. Deflation is not absolutely bad. You can have times of deflation, but if you sustain that, your economy will fail. There will be lots of pain because it doesn't make sense. If people aren't buying, people aren't earning. If people aren't earning, then people are losing their jobs, which means there's less things to buy. So how does this all relate to Bitcoin? One of the great things that they say about Bitcoin is that it's a hedge against inflation because there's less of it over time. So there's going to be an increase until it maxes out at some 21 million or whatever total Bitcoins, but there's going to be less of it released every year. So inherently, Bitcoin is deflationary. That's not a good thing. That's why we have a target of 2% inflation every year. Not because inflation is a great thing, it's because inflation is a necessary part of an economy. It just is. If you want an economy, you're going to need inflation. That's just how it works. That's not me saying it. That's the very smart economist who everyone loves to point to. They say it. Inflation isn't going away anytime soon unless somehow you rewire the human psychology. And I don't think any of these crypto bros are smart enough to do that. So we talked about store of value. We talked about the currency argument. It can't be a currency. It's not a great store of value. So what is it? It's a way to send money to people in countries that don't have trustable governments. Okay? What if the government just bans Bitcoin or all of the cryptos? Or because you use their internet to access that Bitcoin, they can do whatever they want with that internet. They can control internet activity. That's not a hard thing to do. So you're not solving the problem really. And so let's go back to the inflationary hedge. If they say your money is losing value to inflation and Bitcoin doesn't lose value to inflation, so when the economy is suffering from inflation, Bitcoin will continue to grow and sustain its value. Well, we're in an inflationary period right now. The stock market is crashing, and so is Bitcoin. So are all the cryptos. All the stable coins are crashing at the same time as the stock market and the US economy and the inflation being at decade highs and interest rates rising. All of that is happening at the same time. And Bitcoin is falling fast, so are all the other cryptos. Not much of a hedge, if I must say. It's not much of a good hedge. So it's not an inflationary hedge. What else do we have? They will say, oh, it's cool. Yeah, I'm an engineer. I build cool tech all the time. I don't try to sell to people and say, hey, this is the new world order. Let's go with this. Everything else sucks because I somehow am this brilliant person who just comes up with something and says it's better than anything that ever existed. And it's better than the economic systems that we've built up for centuries. And it's better than the technology, the human technology of trust, because somehow trust isn't a good thing. And yet we're not even taking trust out of the equation. So their arguments fall apart incredibly fast. And decentralization. That was the last one. Decentralization is decentralized. Decentralized finance, DeFi. No one can control my money. Everyone has a say in what happens. That's not anywhere close to true. We're seeing with the DOA or whatever they're called, or smart contracts. It doesn't work. They're code. Code has bugs. And they still need a legal entity in this governmental system that we have. They are not a legal system on their own. So they still operate within this legal system. And in order to do, with a decentralized system, in order to do anything, you need consensus. And consensus is expensive. Imagine if your boss at work wasn't able to do anything unless he had 51% of the entire country's or entire company's agreement. You guys wouldn't get anything done. You add in the fact that, like I said, consensus is expensive. Decentralization is expensive due to that fact. We can go on and on and on, but the fact of the matter is that Bitcoin was at 2017, and it went up to 19 and then fell back down. And then it went up to 65,000 or 60,000 and fell back down, 65 fell back down, and now 46 and fell back to 17,000. 17,000 happens to be less than it was in 2017, 5 years earlier. What a great store of value. And the thing is that people buying a dip today, you only buy the dip if you believe that this thing has some intrinsic value that is not being seen by the rest of the market. And fundamentally, it's worth more than it's currently priced at. But there are no fundamentals of Bitcoin. It's not a productive asset. It doesn't create anything. Like, as we already discussed, all of its purported benefits are not actually true. They don't actually exist. So it's not tangible. Its property of being digital is inefficient because it's digital implementation on the blockchain. It's inefficient fundamentally. So it has no benefits. It has no value. It has no productivity. Why are you buying a dip? Just because you believe somebody else will also buy the dip. But what happens if they don't buy the dip? If no one else is there and you're the last greatest fool? As we saw with Terra Luna, it goes to zero eventually. It goes lower than you bought it for. When the fools run out, the game's over. And the fools that are already in the game turn out to be the greatest fools, and they lose their money. So buying a dip is not an advice you take on crypto and assets that are not productive. Unless you're some sort of collector in some niche who believes that you've found the greatest artist or whatever to have ever lived, okay, fine, do your collections, but not as a investment strategy. Being a collector as an investment strategy is not a very smart thing. If you're putting your life savings in Bitcoin, or even a big percentage of your portfolio in Bitcoin and other cryptos, it's not advisable. So as you can see, I'm not crazy. I have $16 of Bitcoin. Maybe I'll add more, because maybe the people around me in this world are not as smart as I think they are. That's somehow Bitcoin would turn out to be the new world order, and that will be wrong. And all the other people who say that it's not going to happen will be wrong. So I'll hedge. I'll take a little bit of Bitcoin, and if that happens and I'm poor, I can build back up with my little bit of Bitcoin. All I need is $16 because I don't see this happening. I don't see this happening. So this is the end of my rant. I will definitely do more videos if you guys enjoy this and more structured. But this was just pretty much a rant to share my thoughts on what's going on with Bitcoin today and this month, and all of the arguments for it, and just how they never hold up. And yeah, just share my thoughts. El Salvador bought Bitcoin with taxpayer money at $30,000 on average. So they bought above that, and now it's cut it in nearly half. Nearly half of the value that El Salvador spent its people's money on, its citizens' money on, is just gone. Someone walked into the treasury and just set the bag on fire, and that store of value lost half of its value. So much for a store of value. So much for a great currency, and people aren't even using it as currency in El Salvador. So it's not doing anything for them besides burning a hole in their treasury. So that's the last word on this for now. I will be back to discuss this more in the future. Comment your thoughts. Am I wrong about Bitcoin? What are your arguments for Bitcoin? Are you invested in it? Let me know. I would love to hear from all of you. And if you agree with me, even better, let me know in the comments below. You have been watching bullacademy.org on YouTube, where we teach long-term investing by breaking down concepts and sharing the stories of companies to help you build long-lasting sustainable wealth. We hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did and want to see more like it, please remember to like the video below, subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell, and comment your thoughts on this topic, even if you just want to say hi. Hi. I would love to hear from you, and I always do my best to respond to every comment. If you would like to engage with me outside of YouTube, feel free to follow me over on Instagram at Lincoln W. Daniel, where I share random thoughts on life and wealth building. As always, this video has been brought to you by our patrons at patreon.bullacademy.org, who support this channel financially to help us keep going and help me brainstorm new video ideas to share with all of you. We do the show together, and we do all of this in our private Discord chat, where we discuss the stock market in real time every day by sharing news, rumors, and new investment ideas, so we can all do our own research and then come back together and collaborate. So if you're interested in any of that, I hope you'll join us over at patreon.bullacademy.org. I'm Lincoln with bullacademy.org. Thank you again, and have a great day.